Welcome to the first Sunday of Advent. This is the first of 4 Sundays, which will be devoted to messages that connect with Christmas. Advent is a season that not every Christian celebrates in an intentional way, although they celebrate Christmas. Not every church recognizes Advent, but it's a tradition that's been around since probably the 8th century or so. The word comes from the Latin word Adventus, originally translated from the Greek word parousia, which means coming. And parousia was used to describe both Jesus' birth and his second coming. So when you think about the word Advent, you think about coming. We're looking forward to the coming of Jesus, the birth of Jesus, and the second coming of Jesus as well. Now, this year, I will actually do 2 different Advent series, one on Sunday morning and then one for our Thursday morning Bible study. Both will use the same title, Touched by Eternity. It's a title, actually a phrase, that I picked up from an old message by Walt Gerber, who was the senior pastor at Menlo Park Presbyterian Church when I served on staff there. And it's 3 words, touched by eternity, that really stayed with me. And I thought that would be a great title for an Advent series. And so we're going to use the title for both Sunday morning as well as our Thursday Bible study. Just recently I was reading a novel which included a unique connection to a famous Christmas book, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And in the novel, there's a character who portrays what they call a traveling Santa. And that is that he walked the streets of Greenwich Village with a cart, raising funds that would be used to help those in need. As the story developed, we learned some background on this fictional character, and that was that he had been a restaurateur, a very successful restaurateur, had a great marriage, raising a daughter, and then as he descended into alcoholism, he lost his restaurant, his marriage, everything. At the time of the book, he was in recovery, and one of the first assignments that he had in recovery was to read A Christmas Carol. So he read it, and then after reading the first chapter, he put it down and he told his counselor, I don't need to read any further because this book has given me a purpose for the rest of my life. The part that he was referencing occurs in A Christmas Carol in the story when Scrooge encounters the ghost of his former partner, Jacob Marley. And as part of their visit, Scrooge looks out the window and he sees all these spirits floating by. He had been quite familiar with one old ghost in a white waistcoat, with a monstrous iron safe attached to its ankle, who cried piteously at being unable to assist a wretched woman with an infant, whom it saw below upon a doorstep. The misery with them all, meaning all the spirits that he saw, was clearly that they sought to interfere for good in human matters and had lost the power forever. When this traveling Santa character read that part, it changed him. And he devoted his life to helping others, not to focusing on himself, his own selfish desires, his own career desires, but he decided to focus the rest of his life on helping those that he considered less fortunate. Last week I mentioned that this coming Tuesday, December 1st, it has been designated Giving Tuesday. It's a day set aside so that people like you and I who can Think about what are some ways that we can give to benefit someone else. And I want to challenge you to do that in a very focused way, because giving is a good thing, but more than just the act of giving, it's what the giving does for someone else. I believe that when you and I give an unexpected gift to someone, we are participating in that person experiencing eternity and a special gift, a special touch from eternity or by eternity. And whether you do something like give to a nonprofit organization like Habitat for Humanity, or give to your church, or perhaps give to a friend that you know has a need, or just put together a bag of non-perishable food that you go out and find a homeless person and give it to the person. By the way, if you do that, please include a new pair of socks, because for a homeless person, there's something really special about having a new pair of socks. It's an incredible gift to give to a homeless person. But you do it to improve the life of someone else. C.S. Lewis wrote, "Hope is one of the theological virtues." Christmas is a celebration of the historical event when the earth was touched by eternity. Jesus left his eternal preexistence with God the Father, became a human being, and provided us with the gift of a relationship with God. And so today, this first Sunday of Advent, we celebrate this gift by focusing on one of the characteristics of this gift, and that is hope. When you give a gift to someone, you give an experience of hope. Psalm 42:5, put your hope in God. Jeremiah 29:11 is a familiar exhortation, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. People want hope. People need hope. Jesus came and brought us hope. Isaiah chapter 40, familiar passage to many people. Do you not know, have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. Sorry, I already read that part. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who put their hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. Right now, there are people in our nation and all around the world who do not feel like they're soaring. Perhaps it's financial concerns or need for a job. Perhaps it's something related to this whole COVID-19 experience, which is very serious, very real. And as often as I read people trying to ignore it or pretend it doesn't exist, it's a very real experience. And so we're looking for hope. We're looking for signs of hope. We're looking for sources of hope. We're looking for ways that we can experience hope, give hope, share hope. By the way, the doorbell rang because UPS just delivered a package here. Well, it's the Christmas season. We're getting packages. People want hope. You may have heard this week, as the news leaked, that last April, Dolly Parton gave $1 million to Vanderbilt University to one of their research projects. And that research project was to find a vaccine for COVID-19. I saw her on several shows this week, and You know Dolly Parton. She's very exuberant, a lot of energy, and just delightful. She said she was so excited that she could be part of that. And her hope is that that vaccine helps people in this country and people all around the world. Now, that's one of 3 vaccines that we're looking at right now that might just begin to save lives because people are still dying from COVID-19. And even those who don't die, those who contract it, I've heard testimony after testimony of people saying, you do not want to get this. So I'm hoping that everybody who's watching this is still wearing a face mask, social distancing, being responsible. But you hear about Dolly Parton giving $1 million. And you might think, well, I don't have $1 million to give. What can I do to help? If I think about Giving Tuesday, what can I do that would really make an impact on someone's life? Any small gift you give to someone, you are giving a spark of hope. Because through you, that person is being touched by eternity. And I think that's such an amazing thing. A bunch of years ago, I had an opportunity to do something completely unplanned. I was in downtown Cincinnati. I lived in Cincinnati at the time, and I was downtown, and it was lunchtime, and I actually had to go to work, so I didn't have time to sit in a restaurant and eat. But I went to a restaurant that was owned by a friend's father, both to pick up some food, carry out, but then hoping my friend would be working so I could at least say hi to him. And so I went into their restaurant, and sure enough, there my friend was. So I ordered my food as a carry out and got to chat with him for just a few moments while the food was being prepared. Then I bid him farewell, I left the restaurant, walked outside, and I was immediately approached by a gentleman that I would judge to be a homeless man, based on the way he looked, the way he was dressed, his whole demeanor. He stopped me and he said, "Sir, I'm wondering, would you happen to have any spare change that you could give me so I could put it towards something to eat?" Well, I literally had spent the last of the money I had on me picking up my lunch. But there was a scripture verse that flashed through my brain. You get some scripture memorized and get it in your brain, it pops up at some of the strangest moments. But the scripture verse that flashed through my brain was from the book of Acts. "Silver and gold have I none, but what I have I will give you." And of course, in that instance, it was Peter and John, Peter who said that, and they healed a man who could not walk and was sitting by the temple begging for money. Well, I thought, okay, this gentleman doesn't look like he needs to be healed, but since I don't have any money, what do I have? And I looked down, I realized, well, I have this food. And so I asked him, "So you're hungry?" And he said, "Yes, I've not eaten all day today." And I said, "Well, I don't have any more money on me, but why don't you take this?" And I handed him my lunch. And at first he looked startled. He looked at the container of food. He looked up at me and he asked, "You're giving me your lunch?" I said, "Yes, I would like you to have it." And then this big smile came on his face. His eyes lit up. And he took the food and he looked at me and he said, "God bless you, sir." And I said right back to him, "God bless you." Just for that moment, I think I gave him just that spark of hope. And I don't know how long it lasted. I never saw him again. But when we give little gifts like that, we bless someone and we give them a sense of hope. In the midst of despair and hopelessness, you and I can be sources of hope. We can be sources of encouragement. To them, God has chosen to make known the glorious riches of his mystery, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. Who are the beloved? Go and be the beloved.